This is When I Grow Up with Paul Glazby.
Mr. Ian M., thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
How are
you?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. I'm good. It's
been
a while.
Where's your suntan?
Well, I'm in real estate, mate. So I'm always wearing shirts, sleeves, and jackets.
Yeah, you got to be on your P's and Q's, haven't you?
Yeah. But the old pommy pale skin. It's a cross I have to bear.
Jib for that.
So I'm just going to do a little intro because a lot of people probably won't realize this, but you were, well, I'm sure a lot of people know you were like a pioneer in the scene, but you were one of the people that I used to marvel over. Like when you were playing, I got introduced to you probably 98, I think it would have been, that I sort of realized who you had the Die Witness remix on Tidy Trax,
right.
and then the Black is Black, and we used to play those all the time. But I think the first time I ever saw you play would have been Sunday Essential, I think.
Okay.
And then Andy, I don't know if you remember Andy Usher, he was putting nights on in Sheffield, and you came and played at the Archers. And this is before I was started at Insomniacs or anything like that.
I do remember the Archers just about.
Yeah.
They were quite good nights, weren't they?
Amazing, yeah, really good, yeah. But I remember being on the dance floor. I can still remember there was a staircase that came down, and the DJ box used to be like to the left.
Right.
And you were playing, and I had to play after you. And I was on the dance floor, and me and my mate were saying to each other, "What the fuck is this?" It was amazing, but we'd never heard anything like it. It was just absolute carnage. And like back then everything was a lot more melodic, and then you just came and just beat the shit out of everything. So
I've never looked at it like that. I've never ever looked at it like that. I've always come in just thinking I'm just going to play my set and that's it. You know what I mean? I've never come in sort of like saying I'm going to bash it out or whatever like that, you know.
Yeah.
It's just, I just play basically you play what you've got at the end of the day, you know what I mean? And it's just, and that's it. And then you just hope for the best.
Well, that's right, yeah. Well, I think you must be like me then, because I've always just played for myself, and I've been lucky that people have liked it. And that's obviously, it sounds like what you were doing. Yeah. But I used to watch you and Steve Thomas. I remember, and I've said this before on the podcast, that I'd watch your hands and try to decipher, because I was teaching myself to mix at the time. So I'm watching what you're doing and trying to work out, when he does that, I can hear this, and I was trying to work out what you were doing. But the other thing as well is that because of you and Steve Thomas and Tony DeVee as well at the time, you guys would just mix, and it's like you were just playing in your bedroom for yourself, like you weren't. And so that's how I learned to mix. That's the whole persona. Everything was through watching you guys. Now, obviously, when my career kicked off, that's when the likes of the Tidy Boys and I guess Lisa Lashes and these people that were more flamboyant came along. But I'm like, that's not me. I want to be like Ian M. So,
I've always said to people, I'm not a commercial DJ. I'm an underground DJ, and I've always been an underground DJ.
Yeah,
that's doing 8 years at trade and everything will do that to you. You know what I mean? Because you were stuck in a box all the time. If you've never been turnmills or whatever like that, it's difficult to sort of like. But the people who know turnmills will understand. You were basically locked in a box.
With a little peephole at the top.
Well, it was just a glass door. It was like a little glass, panel sort of thing.
I played there once
with a lock on the door and everything to stop people coming in.
Yeah,
there was. I mean, I've been with turnmills for. I'm just trying to think now. When it first, I came. Was it the first or second week that trade opened? I did. So, and I used to go down with Steve Thomas and that.
Yeah.
So we were pally anyway and everything like that. And the box and everything was an open box, and that it was. And people used to get in such a bloody state and everything, whatever. They used to, like I'm doing now, you know, they'll be there over the top, looking over, watching you playing records and everything like that. And there's been many occasions where people are so off the nut, they'll just go up to the it's playing out, and they'll go up to the record, up to the arm and everything, and take the bloody arm off the record.
Well, so
you're standing there going, what the fuck happened there? You know? And then this person came out of it and realised what they'd done, and we were all standing there with our arms folded, going, "What the fuck are you?" Sort of thing. You know what I mean? Well, it was so funny. You know.
So is this bit? Did the DJ
just accumulated from there? You know.
Right.
What I mean?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. It was happening on such a regular occurrence and everything like that. That in the end, John, who was the owner, John Newman, and that, he just decided that's it. We've got to have a box and everything like that.
Yeah.
So they put a box up, and they had just a single window, an open window, and everything in the. No, actually, it wasn't an open window. It was a glass window at first, and that.
Yeah.
And obviously, glass panel door and everything with a lock on it. In fact, I supplied the bloody lock for it. I did. I worked in Ironmongery at the time and everything, so I could get it on the cheap sort of thing.
Right.
So I supplied this blooming lock. So, so you can blame me for the lock.
what a claim to fame! I remember. I'm about. How tall are you, Ian? You're about 6'1".
I'm just about 5'10", 5'11". Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Oh right, okay. I always thought we were the same height, but I remember I kind of struggled when I was playing there. I could see the tops of people's heads, but I couldn't. You know, I had to get on my tiptoes to properly look out. Steve Thomas must have never seen anybody.
I don't think he really cared, to be quite honest. He just got on with it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Steve was
but that's the beauty of it. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
He was just a perfectionist in that, you know, to watch him play and everything like that was fabulous, you know what I mean? And the same with Malcolm and everything like that. Malcolm, he might come across as a bit of a loose DJ, but I'm telling you, when that bloke played a good set, you knew about it. You know what I mean? There was times when me and Tony used to go, we were down there and we'd come down early or whatever. We'll be down on the dance floor and everything. And Malcolm was playing. And we just stand there with the gobs open all the time going, what the fuck is he like tonight? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He played some amazing stuff, he did. And Malcolm doesn't get enough credit, I think. He really doesn't. You know, I think, in fact, they all don't get enough credit. You know.
No, you don't.
We don't.
No.
You know what I mean? So,
but that's the thing. Like, because I was obviously, you know, I've been thinking about the things we could talk about with this coming up, and it's like when I started at Insomniacs, that's when hard house was like exploding, and you could do a gig in, you know, Sheffield, but then the night before you might be in Newcastle, but when you were at Trade, like that's before hard house had exploded. So
I was doing about 5 or 6 gigs over that weekend, you know.
Right.
So I didn't know what day was, you know, I didn't even know what Christmas was, you know what I mean? It was like you were flying from one gig to the next. It was like, you know, it was nothing to do like 3 gigs in one night. You know what I mean?
And where were you playing though? That's what I'm sort of
all over the place. You know, all over the place.
Right.
I'm just trying to think. You know, I could be playing Torquay, London, and then Birmingham. You know, it was like I was on the go all the time and everything like that.
Right. Yeah, there must have been much more. Sorry, go on.
I'd had drivers and everything like that. I've had about 5 drivers. I burnt them all out. You know. There must have been a whole underground scene that I wasn't even aware of. That because that's the thing for us. We were like the only way to hear this music, because we were listening to the trade mixers, you know, after parties. This would have been 97. Yeah.
And we were saying, well, we've got to get down to this club, but then and Andy Usher, the guy that was putting the nights on in Sheffield, he started doing coach trips to Sunday Central, and that's where we got to see you guys. That was like a kind of, we went to Birmingham, but yeah, we obviously missed out on this whole underground scene, the gigs that you were playing at. And I guess it was different then because there was no social media, so you couldn't follow you on Instagram or Facebook and find out where you were playing.
No,
it didn't exist, did it? So that's like how everything's.
2007 or something like that, or whatever.
Yeah,
yeah. Like, but I know what you're saying. It was, it just happened. I don't know. It's difficult. Things just happened. You know what I mean? It was just destiny at the end of the day. It's that usual.
Well, it must have been, yeah.
I mean, I was with an agency and everything, and they used to get me some gigs. I think about it now, and I've found some of the old booking forms and everything like that, and I'm like thinking, did I play there? And all this lot. I couldn't believe all the places I've been playing. And some places I cannot remember playing. I really can't.
Oh, mate, I've been putting a new album together, and I've been going through some of the old tracks. There's tracks that I've done that I can't remember. I'm like, oh yeah, this is pretty good. I don't remember it.
Well, as you can see behind me, that's only a fraction of them. You know what I mean? Yeah. There's like another lot around here, and then there's like 30 boxes in that bloody room and everything like that I've got to go through. So it's like, it'd be an ideal world to sort of like sit there and do, go through it all or whatever like that. I know this lot have all been played out in one form or the other, so I can go to this lot and sort of like say, that some of that's some of it's sorted out, but not all of it.
Yeah.
Because I've been asked to do an album as well, so and everything like that. So I don't know. We're probably on the same page on that front. I don't know. So I've not heard any more at the moment.
And who's that? Or can you say who that's for?
Could I say it could be a tidy night?
Ah, yeah, very good. I thought as much.
Ammo asked me and everything at the weekend and everything like that. He was asking.
Oh, yeah.
He said, "Would you be up for doing it?" I said, "Yeah, sort of thing and everything like that." So I think he bought me off with a breakfast and everything or whatever. So I was a cheap date.
Cheap date, exactly. Yeah.
Cheap date.
So
that's in the throes at the moment. So people keep texting me and everything because I've obviously heard on the grapevine that it's happening. So I'm getting constant text messages going, "When's this album coming out?" And I'm going, "When's Christmas this year?"
Well, I'll definitely be downloading it for sure.
Yeah.
But who were obviously you were my influence. You, Pete Wardman, Steve Thomas, Andy Farley, Tony DeVee when he was around. But who were how did you end up getting to trade? Like, what was? Because the thing that gets me is the sound didn't exist, did it? You were like one of the originators of the sound, so you kind of I adopted the sound, but you made the sound.
Yeah, and I don't even know what the sound is. So people say to me, "Oh, we want the trade sound and everything," and I'm going, "Please tell me what it is, because I don't know what it is." What I mean?
I guess it depends what time of the night. I
don't know what. It's difficult to describe what they want. I just play what I play, and that's it. If it's a trade sound, it's a trade sound. I don't know what the trade sound is. There's people's interpretations of all sorts of different sorts of music at the end of the day,
Well, I guess, yeah.
I mean, some people say Tidy was a bit trade. It was at one point and everything, it was a bit tradey because obviously my influence and everything with Ammo and the gang and all that lot. So, and Paul and that. So, the influence was there. And then there's the Tripoli as well. They were sort of like with Steve and that. He was obviously he was a DJ and everything. So, you know, he'd push a lot of his stuff out, and which was bloody good stuff at the end of the day, you know. And so it's difficult. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. It's my influences. I don't know what they were. I heard all sorts of people. Obviously, I was pally with Tony and everything. So we used to hang about every week. You know, every weekend we were out and about. You know, I used to help him with his gigs and everything like that. I used to buy his records and whatever, you know, and then go about with him on the gig front and every weekend. Yeah. And we obviously, I remember when he got the opportunity to play down Trade and that for the first time. And I remember the night vividly, you know, when he did. And then it was just, you know, that just ran about, and, you know, it was just manic. It was a manic time. It really was. It was difficult. It's really difficult to describe, trying to remember all of it. Yeah. I'm just trying to think now. I got the chance because I obviously I've been learning my craft behind the scenes, as they say. You know, I've got the gear and at home and everything, and I was buying. What I used to do was all the records I used to buy for Tony every week, because I used to deal with about 3 record shops. Here, I used to deal with Icon Records in Burton-on-Trent. I used to deal with Selector Disc in Nottingham. And who else was it now? Somebody else as well. I used to deal with somebody in Leicester as well. BPM, I think it was, or something like that, or whatever. And I used to have a good deal with Icon, and that it was basically like sell and return. So it was like, if he got 50 records in, and they were all brilliant, I'd have 50 records. And then other weeks, if there was only 5 records in, I'd only have the 5 records, but the rest of them would go back, sort of thing. Because he was a distributor, he could take them back and then fob them off to another shop and everything like that, because he used to drive up to Liverpool and Manchester and places like that, or whatever like that. Yeah. So we had a good thing going and everything. So basically, I could come away with a pile of records, you know, like all this stuff, 12-inch stumpers and things like that. I had that 6 months before anybody else did, you know. Sort of thing. And loads of things. I don't know. What's it? Shaker? Is it Shaker? Shaker. Yeah, I had that 6 months before, you know, everybody else did. And then obviously I'd get a copy, Tony, and I'd get Tony a copy and everything like that. Yeah. And then on the Saturday when he used to come back, after doing the shop or whatever like that from the record shops and everything, I used to come back before I went over to Tony's, and I used to try and do a mix, to put the mix together of all these new records and that. And I've still got the bloody tape somewhere.
Oh, mate, they'd be amazing if you could find them out.
They're somewhere. They are. And then I put all these mixes together. So when we was in the car later on and everything, going to the gigs, we could listen to all these tracks and everything like that. So, and that's how it worked for us then. You know, it was just. So I'd you know, and I learned the craft by doing that. I did.
Right. So how did you and Tony become friends? Because obviously that's quite an intimate sort of thing for you to be sort of selecting the tracks for. Like,
before anybody thinks otherwise, we were friends and nothing more.
That's not what I was suggesting.
We was no, but you know, I mean, it's like people can get the wrong idea, you know, and that. But no, we were good. We was just on the same wavelength. We were. You know, we could go out and do a gig and everything, and I could tell straight away if it was a good gig or it was a crap gig. You know, we didn't have to say anything, but I could look at him and sort of like say, that was a bit crappy, wasn't it? You know what I mean? Or whatever like that. You know, because it weren't all roses at the end of the day. You know what I mean? It was this sort of like, you know, you have good nights, you have bad nights.
Yeah, that's right.
So what happened was I used to go down to Troll, which was at Sound Shaft next door to Heaven.
Right.
Now, have you heard of Dad's Son and Trevor Rockcliffe?
Oh, I know that name.
Yeah, the techno DJ.
Right.
And Daz, they were like the two main residents at Troll. Now, Daz comes from Leicester.
Yeah.
Right. So I remember Daz when he first started getting behind the decks and everything like that. So he went down to move down in London, and he got pally with Tim, Big Tim, and that. And he was one of the main residents with Trevor. So it's Daz and Trevor sort of thing.
Right.
I was working in a club in Leicester. Used to go down every 6 weeks. Daz, obviously, see Daz and everything like that down there, play. Brilliant night. Troll was like the forerunner for trade and everything. It was, you know, it's basically it. Very underground. The music was brilliant and everything like that. So, in fact, Daz and Trevor ended up being the main residents at Trade when it first opened.
Right.
So where was I? Oh yeah, then I used to go down there, and then there was a few of us used to go down. I used to hire the car out and everything, and then on the Sunday we'd heard on the grapevine that the DJ called Tony DeVitt was playing Italian house tunes on the Sunday nights and that at the Nightingale. So we said, come on, let's go over there and see what it's like and everything like that. So we used to, while I still had the hire car and everything, we used to pile over there and everything on the Sunday night.
Right.
And, you know, obviously come back from London, go over there on the Sunday night and everything to Birmingham.
Yeah.
And then go to work on a Monday morning. Who knows how we did that. Yeah. So, and that's how we got to meet, basically.
The fuck?
The bells are ringing. The bells.
We'll edit that bit out, I think.
And then you got all pally and everything like that, and I can't remember what happened. Oh, I know. Tony invited us back to his gaff.
Yeah.
On Hinstock Road and everything. So we used to go back to his place after the Sunday night after the Nightingale and everything. Stop for an hour, a cup of tea, coffee, or whatever like that, and just sort of like have a bit of a giggle. And that's how we got pally and everything like that.
Right.
I think he actually gave me a pair of headphones because I told him what headphones I'd got. And he said, "You don't want them; they're hideous." So he gave me a pair of Sony ones and everything like that, which I've still got somewhere.
Wow.
They're falling apart, but
definitely don't get rid of them. So this would have been what? This would have been early 90s?
91, I would say. Yeah, 91, 92. Something like
okay.
That. Yeah. I'm just trying to think when Trade opened. And Trade opened I think about 91 or something like that.
Yeah.
I was going down to London anyway. And I'd see Steve Thomas and Tony, who was his other half at the time and everything, and visit them on whatever. And then we go down to Troll, and then we heard that there was a new night starting off called Trade. So we just went off to Trade and everything like that. So I think I went the second week or something like that.
Yeah.
And it was amazing. It was one of those life-changing experiences that you've always heard about, you know what I mean?
It definitely changed your life.
It did in the end. Yeah, it did. Yeah. So, and that was it. And then I used to go down, and then obviously I told Tony about it, and he'd heard as well about this trade and that. So we ended up going down there on Saturday night, Sunday morning, or whatever.
Right. Okay.
So
you started as just punters at the club.
So, yeah, we just went down as punters. We, used to get munted like the rest of them and everything like that. So, as they call it. And there the story's finished. But, yeah.
Well, actually, while we're on that subject, there's only a couple of people in the world that know this, so this will be that night I was talking about where I was on the dance floor and you were playing in Sheffield.
Oh, right, yeah.
And I'm saying to my mate, what the fuck is this? Well, I'd had something I probably shouldn't have had that night. And then I had to follow you. And I think maybe just having to follow you was sort of pressure enough as it was, but because I couldn't sort of think straight. And after I've struggled my way through whatever it was, 2-hour set, and having seen you before, that was the last time I never did anything while I was playing ever again.
Yeah.
That was the night where I'm like, if I'm gonna get to that level, I can't be doing this.
What as well? What's so funny is when I got the chance and the opportunity, because Tim brought me into trade in that or whatever, because he'd heard all these mixtapes that I've been doing for Tony and everything for the car ride and that. So he'd heard all them. And he gave me a chance to play at a trade night that they had in Birmingham.
Right.
At Tintin's and that. So I ended up playing there. Somebody got Tony absolutely slaughtered, right? And he basically couldn't go on. Because he was due to go on after me. And he was so gone, he just basically said, "You have to carry on because I can't do anything." So I ended up doing I think it was like a 3-hour set or 3 or 4 hour set or something like that or whatever.
Right.
I think it was. Anyway, Tim heard me that night and managed to see I could cope with it. He said, "I want to give you a chance at the London trade and everything like that." I said, "Oh, great, blah blah blah." The trouble was then there was Lawrence had asked another DJ, who I'm not going to name, but basically asked him would he play down there. So basically, Tim's in my corner, Lawrence is in this other DJ's corner. So we sort of took it in turns, alternate weeks and everything. So I played 1 week, he played another week and everything like that. We were panicked, I said to him, I said, "You realise they put us in competition with each other and everything like that. So, no hard feelings or whatever the case may be, we'll just do what we do."
Yeah.
And it came to one bank holiday it was, and it was his turn to play. And he'd decided for some strange, I don't know why he did it, but for some strange reason, he dropped a snowball or something like that or whatever it was, right? So he dropped the snowball. He went on. I stuck in the box and sat behind him in the box. And I think I'd had half of a snowball or something or whatever like that, Yeah. And basically he went on and he just messed up big time. It was just everything just fell apart. It did, And then no mixes were working, nothing was working. And I'm sitting behind him with half of what's it in me, and I'm pulling faces like nobody's business. And he's like, I'm going like this, and he's thinking, "Oh shit, he thinks this is crap." And basically, that was it for him. I'm afraid he
sealed his fate.
I got the job.
So the moral of the story is just do half.
Not even that. Not even that. Then again, though, Tony used to do half and everything like that, and he used to do a set, and they were quite good, you know. So work it
Horses
out.
for courses.
Yeah, work it out. I couldn't work it out. So
well, you say working out, and I've always wanted to ask you, because you've got this strange thing about you. I'm not sure if you're even aware, but I've said it to loads of people. You know, like when you get into a DJ box and you sort of have a bit of a, you know, hug.
Yeah.
You have always felt like you're made out of wood.
All right. Yeah. Really?
Like, really? I don't know what your training regime is or was.
Right.
Well, you must have had one, because you've always been a big...
Actually, I've just looked at myself in the bloody monitor thing, and I'm like thinking, Jesus, do I look like that?
But I mean, did you used to work out back in the...
No.
You've never?
No.
Jesus Christ. Because
no. I was in a physical job, though, when I was full-time, when I was in full-time employment and that. You know, I worked at... I was at the builders merchants and everything like that. So I was shifting Arga cookers and things like that. So,
right. Yeah. Yeah, it's just always been something that I'm
nice and flabby now. You can sort of like, you know, you can put your hand in there and just get lost. You know what I mean?
Right, okay. Well, I've not seen you for a while, but
no. So I don't know. No, I put on too much bloody weight at the moment. I've got to get it off, but I can't. So yeah, just one of those things.
Yeah.
So, but I don't know. Yeah.
Well, I wanted to talk about the production. So for someone who's been around for so long, you've not done loads of tracks, have you? You've, I mean, I think I know most of them, but you've not done, obviously, like, you know, I used to churn stuff out, and some of it's better than others. But like, you've just had a lot of big tracks. So like I said, the Black is Black remix, the Die Witness remixes, Annihilation, obviously, Crazy Pills was another one, obviously did that on Vicious Circle. So
I get asked for that constantly now at the moment.
Yeah,
all the time I get asked for that. I do. It's ridiculous.
It's a good track.
You know what I mean? It was a fun track to do at the time and everything like that. Just the fact that we got the vocal sample from obviously a film that nobody had heard of. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, it was years later I realised where it was from. At the time, I didn't know where it was from. And it's funny, the young kid who...
People say, oh, I didn't realise it was from here. And I'm going, that was 20 years ago, mate. You know what I mean? It's like...
Well, yeah, it was, yeah. And but there's a young kid who works in our office, Justin, and we trained together. And I had I can't remember, one of the mixers was on, and Crazy Pills was on it. And Justin said, because he's not into hard house or anything, but he's like, is that Will Ferrell? Or I think he said, that sounds like Will Ferrell. I said, it is Will Ferrell. I said, it's from Zoolander.
Yeah.
Yeah, amazing track. I remember the day that you and Paul delivered that for...
I think I've got another version of it or whatever like that, because obviously there's obviously a first draft version or whatever, you know, just have a listen and see whatever and work out the kinks. And then
I think there was a version where the key change kicked in out of the break. Is that right?
Could have done, yeah. Could have done.
I think so, yeah.
I wanted, that's something like that. I'd done the same with Deep Swarm as well. I wanted the key.
Oh, another one, amazing, yeah.
Yeah. I'm not knocking Equinox and everything like that, but he did a mix of it and that, and he didn't put the key change in, which for me it just kept it on a level, you know. You needed that key change just to take it.
Oh yeah, it sends it into the stratosphere.
Step, you know what I mean, sort of thing, you know. So
because it goes for so long as well, isn't it? Where it's just
there's 7 and 8 minute tracks and everything like that. See, so you know, they worked. I think they worked on the 32 bar basis and everything at the time and that. So most of the tracks are like that, 32 bars. Yeah, and then we mix for 60, and then I mix at 64 bars. I do. That's how I normally do it. So if it crossover mix and everything, you can you get the sounds together and everything like that. If you get it right,
it's
perfect. You know.
Yeah. Well, I think that's why I mix like I do, because like I said, coming and listening to you and having, pardon me.
That's the techno background for me, see, because trade wasn't hard house. A lot of people seem to think that trade was hard house. It's not hard house. That, and we keep saying this. It wasn't hard house. It was something that got categorized by the magazines, and I think Steve Thomas said it in some stupid bloody interview or whatever like that. It's hard house or something, or whatever. Little did he realise what it would haunt him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
sort of thing. But basically, we used to play. It was either house or techno, and we used to play techno. I used to play techno. That's how I look at it. So techno was like it was free form and everything. You can mix what, 8 bars, 16 bars, 32 bars, or whatever like that. 64 bars if you're willing and everything like that.
Yeah.
And if a track was tight enough, that was the thing with Die Witness. It was a tight track. You could put 2 copies of that together, and you could go off and make a cup of tea. You know what I mean? You could, basically, you could put the 2 tracks together and everything like that, and basically just go off and put the kettle on and come back, and it was still in. You know what I mean? And the same principle with Black is Black. Right. Because they were just roughly around the same time and everything like that.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I remember that. I was like, that was when I was learning to mix.
It was all techno. All of it was techno elements. Everything I used to do was techno based, and that it weren't, because hard house as such didn't exist. It was like the magazines needed a category, brand to sell and everything.
Yeah.
And they came up with, and hard house was it and everything like that. I even put some of my tracks down as council house and everything as a joke. But if you go on Apple Music, right, and put council house in, there'll be something of mine on there, because it's not tough, isn't it? On the metadata, on the MP3 and everything like that, as council house.
I'm going to try that later. So, how often are you sort of doing gigs these days?
Oh, like the next one, September, Tiny 13. That's it.
Okay.
That's. I don't know what I'm going to do at the moment. I don't know what I'm going to do. I've got my hands full. Pete's getting on a bit and everything like that. So it's like, I'm sort of part-time carer on that front, so sure he's all right and everything like that. And he's got a railway exhibition coming off, and I'm having to do all the paperwork for that. So that's a full-time job.
Yeah. Well, you're like me then. I mean, I'm doing like 3 or 4 gigs a year, maybe 3 a year.
What did I do? I did Sunday Central I did Sunday Central in Brum. That was the first time in 8 years I'd done a gig. That was last March or whatever.
Then so you've not done anything for as long as that?
That was last year. And then I did Fearsome in June 25. Yeah, Fearsome 25, I think, down in London.
Yeah.
And then I did Shine. I did Shine as a favour to Tony and everything like that, because it was his Mrs. daughter. Got a bloody name now, but it was his missus' birthday and everything, so I said I'd go and do that for him and everything like that. Right. And then the next time I did was Tiny Weekender.
Right.
So
how was that?
That was all right. It's fun. It was fun.
Yeah. Apparently the accommodation's a lot better these days.
Oh yeah. Yes, a lot better. I think anything. Somebody put on a post in that. He said it's like being in the Ritz. It is.
Well, it used to be like Tenko. Do you remember him starting? It was like a concentration camp.
It was awful.
To be fair, at the time, when everyone was, in the early 20s or whatever, it was kind of suited. I guess as everyone's got older, I do remember the first weekender I got there, and they'd put me in a chalet, and I just said to Andy Pickles, I went, I'm not staying here. So they moved me to a hotel.
Oh, did they?
I said, fuck that, I'm not staying here.
I wish I'd done that. I know Rob and I know Lisa, they were in the Premier Inn down the road and everything.
Right, yeah.
So
they used to put me in, there was like a little sort of bed and breakfast place that I used to say. It was like someone's house, but it got a 5-star.
Was that the one that was on its own sort of thing, near the shoreline and that or whatever? Was it that
I just remember it had a Michelin star restaurant.
Really?
Yeah, so the guy that, it was a couple that ran it, and there was a Michelin restaurant, like sort of in the dining room of this house was this restaurant. It was, and when you got there, like you check in, and there'd be like the floral bedspread, and she'd like leave a little plate with some chocolates on and stuff. Like it was a real like homely sort of place. And you get back there after the weekend, and your ears are ringing and your eyes are crossed.
But after the weekend and everything like that, it was good. I could say I went for Demolition, but I held back a bit because Rob was on after me and he'd just been in a car accident. So it was like, I thought, I was like, and I'd come up with a really crass joke or something like that, I think. And I've still got to say sorry to Rob for it. And I said something like, I tried not to do any car crash mixes. I
think if anyone can take a joke, it's Rob DeSera.
Let's put it like this. It's like I've always said to people, you've got to have a joke in you all the time. Don't take it too bloody seriously. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
I'm a joke a minute bloke. You know what I mean? I'll take the piss right, left, and centre. Well, no matter what.
Yeah. It's the best way to be, mate. It's the best way to be. Well, something I did want to. I'm hoping. I don't know whether you would still. I don't have it because I've changed my phone. But and I've talked about this before. But you might not even remember this. But when I did my 10-hour set, when I my retirement gig, and I did that 10-hour set in Storm.
Yeah.
And on the Sunday, I got a text message from you.
Oh, did I? Oh, right.
And it said, I can't remember exactly what it said, but it was words along the lines of, you should be really proud of yourself. You've done this, that, and the other. And it like nearly, well, I think it did bring me to tears when I was reading it, because it was like getting that from you, what that would have been 2012, because it's just before Nevaeh was born. So it's 2012.
Texting it as well, because I was thinking, how much is this costing me?
Keep it less than 50 characters.
She's not worth this much. You, I've got something to pick, a bone to pick with you.
Okay, go on.
Yeah, bitchy queen.
Oh, well.
That was funny, that was. I laughed my head off at that. I'm getting people texting me saying, have you seen what Paul said about you? And I'm going, like what? And everything. And they sort of like linked me up to it and everything. And I watched it and you said that, and I was just howling at her. It was so funny. I was like thinking, am I coming across like that? Am I? I didn't give a toss. You know what I mean?
I think that's the thing. You don't give a toss because everything you say is.
I've been through so much trauma in this music industry and everything like that, in one form or the other, being ripped off right, left, and centre. I've been owed thousands of pounds and everything over the years, and that somebody coming along and saying bitchy queen about me is like, that's a compliment. You know what I mean? You think I'm bad? You want to hear Malcolm? He's worse than me. I'm Fat Tony and everything like that. They're worse than me. You know what I mean? And I'm thinking, please. So it was. No, it's like I laughed my head off when I saw that, but I just thought I've got to have him for it. I
actually said to Matt before you logged on, I said, I wonder if he's going to get us back by just not turning up.
Yeah. 10 minutes later, hello, I'm here.
So when you play in Tidy this year, then that could be the last time.
The one in September could be, yeah,
okay,
could be, but I'm not advertising it.
No, I'm not
going about. I'm not going about saying, "Oh, it's going to be my last gig," and everything like that. Basically, if basically, you look at it this way: if they pay the money, I might consider it.
Yeah, well,
that's basically it. You know what I mean?
That's a good way to look at it.
And Tidy have paid it, and so I'm buddy for them at the end of the day. You know what I mean? It's like sort of thing. But honestly, I'm at this age and everything like that. My body's like I've got saggy tits and everything like that, and I'm like dragging my arse out and everything. So, and I've got my hands full with Pete and everything. So it's like,
yeah.
I don't know. I'm not saying it's the last one, and I'm not saying it is the last one or whatever. I'm just gonna. I think if I do, I'll bow out quietly. So, and then I won't be accused of doing a Paul Glazby comeback special. Like you did at Insomniacs.
Well, the thing is, I did Storm. I did the big finale at Storm, the 10 hours. 18 months later, I went back and did a 3-hour set at the same club.
Did you? Oh, I can't remember that. Yeah, I know. It just got fun. I mean, the Tidies have always they've been doing that for years now. We're retiring this time, we're retiring and everything, and it's like next week. Oh, we're playing Torquay. This time. So no, it's like I don't know. See how the mood is. See how I feel.
Yeah,
and that. So. I've got a couple of projects to do that Tidy event and everything, and then see how I feel after that.
Yeah,
that's the best way to do it at the end of the day, isn't it? Just take each day as it comes.
Yeah,
just take it, So, but I keep my eye on the socials. I read the socials. I have a bit of a laugh with some of the people and everything, and some of them can't cope with me. And I'm like, I think I'm like, what's the word? I'm giving them mental health or whatever like that or whatever.
Oh, right, okay.
They can't cope with me. We'll go down the line. I can't cope. It's like, get off the bloody socials then if you can't cope. That's basically it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so, I don't think some people are not cut out for. I mean, the thing is on social media, like you can't tell when someone types something, and then if you read it in like my ex was the worst for it. She'd go, "Look at what they've said," and I'd read it in a normal tone of voice in my head. And I'd be like, well, "What's wrong with that?"
Yeah,
and then she'd read it in the tone that she was reading it. Well, that sounds terrible. Yeah, but I don't think they mean that, And if someone's like constantly reading stuff and taking it the wrong way, then it'll send them off the deep end. So it's just a strange way to communicate.
Yeah, but if you start fretting about what you're saying, then freedom of speech, is gone, isn't it?
Well, that's right. Exactly. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing that when you start self-censoring.
Yeah, and I can't be doing that.
No.
Basically, you take me as I am, and that's it. And then people are using a lot more swear words on the socials and everything. I tell people off all the time about it because they're using the C word and everything. And I'm like, do you have to use that? That's just so common, for God's sake. You know what I mean? It's like, so.
Yeah, there's a time and a place for the C word.
There is, but some people just use it on everything they do at the moment. You know what I mean? And it's just like, I do. I just lay into them and say, do you have to use that? Blah, blah, blah. You can use some other bloody word than that. You know what I mean? So I'm not going to say anything. But no, it's good that you've made a stance in Australia, isn't it? It is for you.
Yeah. It's I mean, it's good for the kids.
Well, basically, we never saw much of each other anyway, except for on the circuit. But I mean, you just all of a sudden you just booked off to Australia, which is fine. My sister lives in Australia. She lives in just north of Brisbane or something like that, or whatever. So,
that's near where I am. I mean, I'm in Gold Coast, so I'm like an hour south of Brisbane.
Yeah. Right.
So, but if you ever come over and see your sister, definitely let me know because we'll be real close.
We sort of fell out at the moment, so I think that's on hold.
Right.
Just one of those things. It's family.
Families, yeah.
Families. Yeah. But yeah, it's like, well, it's a different life over there for you.
Oh, definitely, yeah. And I mean, I see. I don't know what it's like for you, sort of day to day in England, but the stuff I see on the news, it just seems like it's falling apart. Like I know, obviously, what you see on the news is curated, and people are showing you what they want you to see. I speak to my sister.
You've seen all the Liverpool thing and everything like that.
I saw that this morning. Yeah,
you saw all that. Well, all the news media channels and everything like that, they're just reporting different numbers, and it's like hilarious. You sit there and you go, well, he said there's only 1 injured, this one's saying there's 4 injured, and this one's saying, and it's like,
you don't know what's true.
You know what I mean? So anyway, get back to the music.
Get
back to the music. What else do you want to know about music production?
Well, I was going to ask, obviously having such an extensive career of, I mean, what, like, say, you started in trade at early 90s, so that's what, 30?
I started at trade about 94, 95 or something like that. I did.
Right, so that's 30 years ago.
Is it? Yeah, something
and
like that.
There'll be some people that are listening to this and that are not even 30 years old.
I used to play pubs and everything in Leicester and everything, and I played the local gay club and everything like that years ago, and that didn't work out. But I weren't but not because I was playing the underground stuff. I was having to play all the pop stuff and everything like that, the Madonnas and everything, whatever. I bloody hated it, But I wanted to play all the Italian house stuff that was coming out at the time, and that,
Right. I was just imagining you playing Commander Tom at the pub.
No. I met Commander Tom though. I did.
Oh, yeah.
I met the Ultimate Orange at the Q Club, and that.
Right.
Great big tall bloke, tall American chap, and everything like that, and that or whatever. It was a nice bloke. It was really nice bloke. I asked him where he got the noise from and everything. I had to. As soon as I saw him, I said, "Where'd you get that bloody noise from?" From RMI sort of thing. And he sort of told me, and I went, "Oh, right," and everything. I think Baby Doc was on the same thing.
Yeah,
on the same gig he was, and Chucky was on and everything like that. So it was fairly. It was good. Oh.
That fucking clock.
keep on your toes. You'll be going bleep, bleep.
Does that go off all night? Does it?
Yeah, you don't hear it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's one of Pete had it redone. Cost a bloody fortune having it redone, but it goes off on the hour and then half an hour and everything. And that's what it does. It does a single chime on the half hour.
Right.
You don't hear it. Honestly, I don't hear it now and everything. So yeah, it was quite funny because Baby Doc sort of like him and Tom went off to powder their nose and everything like that. And Baby Doc couldn't come back, and he said, "The bastard nicked the old bloody lot, didn't he?" He said, "I put it down," and he just went straight in one go and everything, and he had me bloody lot. He had his old thoughts. I was laughing my head off. It was so funny. It was one of those funny stories that you just thought that was funny. That is.
So Commander Tom's a greedy guts.
He was greedy. I think it was double the size of us. He was a massive bloke.
Right.
Massive bloke.
Yeah, I never met him. I never met Baby. I mean, Baby Doc's one of my all-time favorite producers, but I've spoken to him on the phone, but I never met him.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, like his stuff. I always thought as well that he produced everything. Like that he was like an engineer. Right. Apparently not. Like someone told me that.
Not all the time. He had other people come and engineer and everything or whatever he did. There was a guy called Bernie and that. Now you might know him if you look at your old Huge Tunes records and everything like that. You'll see a credit there for Third Degree Burn.
Yeah.
See, BERN or something like that, Third Degree Burn and everything. Well, that was Bernie, see.
Right.
Who's one of the nicest chaps you've ever seen in your life. He was brilliant. He was.
Yep.
And he used to come down or whatever, down to the Quinn had a studio down at oh bloody hell, I forgot. It was next door to the RTN studios. It was. I'm just trying to think now what the street was. Not Marl. No, it weren't Marland. It was something I can't remember offhand. They'll come back to me in a minute.
Yep.
And it was downstairs. It was like an underground warren of studios. There was loads. There was like Liberators were there and all sorts of different underground influences. There were like loads of DJs and producers and everything. It was like and different rooms and everything. So Quinn had a studio down there, and that is perfect. It was brilliant.
Yeah, because his sound, you know, like Paul King, like you can spot a Paul King track a mile off, can't you? And they're all great. They all kind of sound very similar. And Baby Doc stuff, it just always had that consistency that you could like pick it that it's Baby Doc.
Yeah.
But then everything he did, like I don't think I've ever heard a Baby Doc track that I didn't like. You know, he's just incredible.
I'll give you a list if you want.
Well, maybe there's some special ones that I didn't hear, but
no. We've done stuff that never got released and everything like that. So you know, it's like so that's I'm saving them for a rainy day, as they say. So, but Bernie was brilliant. He was. He used to come. He used to come down to the studio with his own MPC drum machine and that. So you know the Akai MPC with the pads on it and everything. The early days with pads and that. And he used to come down with that and basically program his drums in it and everything through that. You know. Right. So and it was early days. It was like what 90s. So it's mid 90s.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think. Macs they were there, but I think they were black and white screens or something like that or whatever. So, you know, I think it was a Mac, or was it an Atari? Or the Die Witness. I'm trying to think. Die Witness, Black is Black, Annihilation, Dreamer was all done at Ammo's studio. They were all done on an old Atari ST 1080 or something like that. So it's about 2 megabyte memory on them and everything like that. There's nothing basically like, you know, you just have to like work with what limited space you got on it. And they were all done on that. But they were so good, those old machines, these old Ataris and everything. They were tight as anything they were. You could like you'd lose the timing on a PC and everything. You can lose your timings would drift. You get a lot of drifting on PCs because people load all the programs. It's basically like the golden rule is if you don't put Word, you know, and your music programs on the same PC.
Right, yeah.
Because that will eat up all your CPU, which you need for your music thing.
Right, yeah.
So that's one of the golden rules sort of thing. You don't have that and have that sort of whatever. So,
yeah.
And I obviously my early machines and everything like that had all them, you know, so they had no Word on them. They just had all the Cubase and everything like that. So
right, yeah. Yeah, I forgot about Dreamer, actually. That's another cracker as well. Yeah. Good times.
Yeah. Got my hand slapped for that one. I don't know how they found out, but they bloody found out with the sample they did, bastards. So that's one of those dangerous areas that is sampling in the early days and that they used to jump down your neck, they did. So
right, yeah.
I don't think they bother so much nowadays and that, because you don't shift enough units, you know.
No, well, that's right. Yeah, that's what I always said, because like my daughters, especially the older one, she's picked up on some. She's heard some of my stuff, and then she's like, "Well, where did you get that from?" And I thought, "Oh, we took it off a film." And she's like, "Well, do you not get in trouble?" I said, "Well, we never sold enough. Like if a hard house track that did well still didn't sell enough for someone to waste the time suing you for it. So we kind of flew just under the radar."
The paperwork. It's not worth it doing the paperwork if all you're gonna do is like 150 copies or whatever like that, and that it's just not worth it. So they don't bother that. They don't bother now unless you're going for a commercial hit for the radio and everything. They won't bother coming after you.
Yeah,
and then right. If you're going commercial, you've got the agency to work it out, and your management team will work that one out and get it all sorted and signed up and everything. So but otherwise they ain't gonna bother coming after you. No. Thank God.
Well, I'll tell you what, mate, you need to somehow find these tapes that you used to do for Tony, because if you could get your hands on those,
I know where they are. It's just a case of having the inclination to. And I think I've got a machine that still works. I'm not sure.
I was going to say finding a tape player that's going to play them.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think. I might have a machine that works and everything, and then it's because I disconnected everything. I disconnected all my computers and all my studio gear and everything, and it's all disconnected and all that. Right. So I'm basically like I'm a hoarder. I'm just hoarding a load of stuff in there at the moment.
Well, you need to get it all plugged back in, because when people hear this, you're going to get inundated with people asking you for them tapes. So that's probably going to be your next.
But it's no worse than anything else that I get asked for, and they'll say, "Yeah, it'll happen. It will happen sometime soon. It will." So that's it. And that.
Well, you've had an amazing career at Ian. You've influenced a lot more people, certainly myself and thousands of other people. So, I mean, I just want to say thank you for everything you've done, even though you didn't know you were doing it. Everything you've done for me.
I didn't know I influenced anybody at the end of the day. I just turned up at gigs and everything. I didn't realise that people were actually listening.
But we were definitely listening, and I was watching and working out what the hell you were doing. But
I was doing the same thing. I was looking at myself going, "What the hell am I doing? I don't know." And I'm still doing that now.
Well, thanks for making the time to come on here as well. I really do appreciate it, and I think everyone that listens to this.
It's a shame you couldn't get me a business class seat and fly me over there, and I could have done it live. And it was
next time we'll do it next time.
Yeah, right.
Well,
I'm getting asked to go over to Australia as well all the time or whatever. So,
mate, let's get it sorted.
I've had about 4 offers this week to go over to Ireland, and I love going over to Ireland and that.
Oh, Ireland! I always used to say playing to 100 people in Ireland is like playing to 500 people anywhere else in the world.
Yeah,
they go absolutely nuts. I had so many good gigs in Dublin.
I've had so many good times over in Ireland and that. It's like the stories can make an whole blooming episode itself,
Well, thanks, Ian. I love you, mate. You're an absolute legend, and I don't say that lightly. You are actually a legend. So,
a legend. Well, thanks for inviting me along. Thanks for the invite and that. And I'm not going to tell you what you look like with that microphone stuck in front of your face, but the last time I saw it, I think it was on Pornhub.
I'll just gently push it away.
That's what they did as well.
Ian, give my best to Peter, and I'll speak to you soon. You take care.
Have a nice Christmas. See you soon.
Cheers, mate. See you, pal.
This is When I Grow Up with Paul Glazby.